All right, good evening. It's about 5:30, coming up on 5:30 here on the East Coast. Just to give an idea for sample size here. I'm John. I'm once again here to do Immaculate Grid, going for that ultra low rarity score. So far I've been somewhat successful. I've been in the 30s. I think I was in the 60s one day. I am wearing my Milwaukee Brewers Hawaiian shirt because I'm a Brewers fan, and that's what I do. And I've changed my background here. That's Robin Yount. He's hitting what I assume is a very powerful foul ball in that picture. But that was a picture taken by my dad sometime in the early 1990s. So decided to make it my background because I was sick of just bringing a picture up and having it there. So um, seemed easier that way. Anyway, get started here. I've got Immaculate Grid open. Sometimes there's like loose spoilers there, but what do we got here? Okay, 40 plus homer season. Right off the bat, I like that one. So we've got to figure that out for the Tigers, Cardinals, and Yankees. And then our other teams are the Rockies and the Braves. Um, I like I like 40 homer season. That's good. Um, in fact, let's start over there. So bottom right hand corner. I'm gonna start in the bottom right, work my way up. Yankees. Let's think of some Yankees who've hit 40 home runs. There've been so many of them, right? You've got Babe Ruth, you've got Lou Gehrig, you've got Joe DiMaggio, you've got Mickey Mantle, you've got Roger Maris. You do have Reggie Jackson once. So that might be the one I go with because that's a little bit obscure. I think Joe DiMaggio only had one season with 40 home runs as well, but I know they both did it. Tino Martinez did it in 1997. I distinctly remember that season for him because it was, and I actually included this in my forthcoming book here, but it was actually during the interlude between world championships. The one year they didn't win the world championship was his best season, 40 home runs. Judge, obviously, A-Rod, obviously. Um, Sheffield didn't, not as Yankee. Um, and Winfield actually came pretty close. I think Winfield had 37 one year. Um, but I think I've more or less run the gambit on all the options. Granderson did it. Curtis Granderson did it, so you could sneak him in there. But again, Granderson's somewhat recent. That's what I've noticed is that recency bias is a thing in this game. Of all of those, I think the most obscure I could go with will be Reggie Jackson. Um, he's uh the people who are less recent than him are also like on par or more famous than him. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, etc. So, Mantle and Maris, right? So that's going to be my thinking here, but we'll see. We'll see what we get. Maybe I should go Tino Martinez. I'm going Jackson. 2%. All right. I might play on my phone later and see if Tino Martinez was more obscure than that, but um let's see. And now for Cardinals 40 homer seasons. Rogers Hornsby did it, I think, one season. So that's a 1920s. Not everyone knows about Rogers Hornsby. And then you have to go. I mean, obviously you go all the way. I don't know in between. I don't think Musial ever did it. Um, Johnny Mize did. That might be even more obscure than Hornsby's. Johnny Mize. And they got like McGuire. A lot of people are getting a Sosa. A lot of people, or excuse me, not Sosa. Pujols. Pujols. A lot of people are going to get McGuire. A lot of people are going to get. I think they're going to split most of them. I'm going to go Johnny Mize here because I'm very sure he had one year in there. I'm also sure about Hornsby, but yeah, 1%. That's cool. I think that'll be lower than Hornsby. And then for the Tigers, need a 40 home run season. Um, what Norm Cash? In 19. Hank Greenberg would also work. Hank Greenberg, Norm Cash, Rocky Colavito. I think same year as Norm Cash. Um, and then uh, I'm actually trying to think of people more. Miguel Cabrera will obviously get a bunch. I'm gonna lock in Norm Cash. Greenberg's a bit older, but he's in the Hall of Fame. Norm Cash is not in the Hall of Fame. Neither is Rocky Colavito. His name's got more syllables. Let's go with Rocky Colavito. I think in 1961, both him and Cash hit over 40 home runs. Yeah, 0.3%. All right, so I think I've gone with some unobvious 40 plus homer seasons from some very good players. Mize and Jackson are both in the Hall of Fame. Colavito's not in the Hall of Fame, but I think he had over 300 career home runs. Like very, very solid player. Let's see. This one's gonna be somewhat obscure, but I like a late 90s Brewer, and I think he qualifies. Gerald Williams. Yeah, he was traded to the Braves after the 97 season, after the Brewers acquired Marquise Grissom. I'm locking him in. 0.4%. RIP Gerald. All right. Let's see. Rockies and Cardinals, Matt Holliday just springs to mind. But I think that Andres Galarraga played one season with the Cardinals. It's like in between the Expos and going to the Rockies. He hit 370 with the expansion Rockies in 1993. But I think there was a year in there with the Cardinals. And I think he's going to get a lot less love than Matt Holliday in this. 1%. Let's see. Cardinals and Braves. I've previously talked about how uh, Reggie Sanders is a superstar in this game. Another person who I think is will be an interesting pick here would be Rogers Hornsby, who I just mentioned over here. In fact, let's just go with him because I've given him two call outs now. At a certain point, you just have to go with him. But he played one season with the Boston Braves, and this is what's nuts. And again, I'm writing or have written, depending on if Amazon's accepted the publishing, um, a uh, a book, and one of the chapters about players who played one season with a team and had a great year. Hornsby did that with both the New York Giants and then was subsequently traded to the Boston Braves. And of course, like old locations count. So he obviously played for both teams. So let's lock it in. 0.1%. Again, that's the ultimate flex. I mean, this is one of the greatest players who's ever lived, and you get 0.1%. Maybe if you take WAR divided by rarity score, you could call that something. You could call that something. You could call it a Bowen if you want. It's my last name. Obviously, it's right there. Braves. I'm tempted to go Doyle Alexander. I wonder if that trade is so notorious that Doyle Alexander actually gets a lot of love from it in terms of Immaculate Grid. I think Doyle Alexander gets a lot of hate for this trade. Let's see how he does. Yeah, 7%. Okay, I might have been able to think. Edgar Renteria also would have worked there. Um, that was that might have been a better pick here. Doyle Alexander is famous because he was traded by the Braves to the Tigers in exchange for John Smoltz. Trade worked out for the Tigers, I think, because they made the playoffs that year, and then they weren't particularly competitive for most of the rest of Smoltz's career. So, um, and I don't think they were. There was one season. Again, this is a chapter in my book. It's a good marketing ploy. I'm trying to tie it back to my book, but there's a chapter in there about this trade, and like the Tigers only had one season in there, but it was kind of an interesting one where if you added their win total plus Smoltz's WAR, you would have gotten into the playoffs. But other than that, it's just like, hey, you take your chances. You take your chances where you can get them. All right, Rockies and Yankees. DJ LeMahieu immediately comes to mind. So rule of thumb, not going to pick him. I think Holiday. Holiday was briefly a Yankee, right? Like in 2014 or 15. I said also would have worked here, but I think it would have been a lot more obvious. Um, let's see. Joe Girardi played for both teams. Joe Girardi was a Rocky. I'm pretty sure he was a Rocky. in like 90 the mid 90s, like right before coming to the Yankees. Lock it in, 1%. All right, last one here. So far so good. Doyle Alexander's really been the weakest one so far, but everyone else has been. I'm pretty happy with everyone else. Rockies and Tigers. Oh, I've been putting this one off. Um, yeah, this is going to be so. Once again, I always default. I mean, it works with Rockies because they didn't even exist until 1993. So, um, I'm gonna just default to where I'm in my comfort zone, and that's talking about the late 90s. So you got some some Rockies players. You got Henry Blanco behind the plate. I don't think it's that. Galarraga's not going to work. Helton obviously plays whole career over there. Mike Lansing, Eric Young, they're not going to work. Vinny Castilla never played for the Tigers. Nefi Perez, I don't think ever played for the Tigers. Neither Tulowitzki or Story. Um, let's see. So your outfielders around this time, you've got Larry Walker, you've got Ellis Burks. Ellis Burks never played for the Tigers. He played for the Red Sox, White Sox, and a couple other teams, I think Indians, but not ever the Tigers. And then left, oh, Dante Bichette, but that's yeah, I think he played for the Brewers, Angels, Reds, and Red Sox. Never the Tigers. So basically a big old swing and miss going that way. Let's think of Tigers from around the same time. It's a little tougher. Tony Clark, no. Brian Hunter, no. Brad Ausmus, no. Um, I don't think Brad Ausmus. Don't think Dean Palmer. Uh, yeah, like Juan Pierre never played for the Tigers. So this one is definitely tricky, and I don't even have some like an obvious one to lay back on. I might go this might be a blank unless I just keep trying to run out the clock here by thinking of players. You could go to that '06 pennant winning team for the Tigers. Kenny Rogers, you got Justin Verlander, Brandon Inge. I don't think he ever played for the Rockies. Oh, let's see. Uh, Carlos Guillen, don't think he ever played for the Rockies. A lot of these guys I'm not super sure on though. Granderson never played for the Rockies. Austin Jackson's never played for the Rockies as far as I know. So let's see. How obscure can we get on Rockies play? I wonder if Edwin Jackson was ever a Rocky. Or Baldo Jimenez, any of these. Pedro Stasio. I'm just thinking of like Rockies pitchers because they seem to bounce around a lot. And there's got to be someone like more recent than any of these guys that I'm just not thinking of. Hmm. I might just be stumped. Once I figure out video editing, which I'm a total newbie at this, so I might just like keep it on so you can see I've been thinking the whole time, but like fast forward through it or something like that. Oh, but until then, Sheffield played for the Tigers, but the other expansion team. He played for the Marlins, but never the Rockies. There's some other Rocky greats. You got what, Carlos Gonzalez, Jeff Cirillo was over there. He never played for the Tigers. I'm going both ways on this, but just not come up. Todd Jones. What about Todd Jones? What about Jim Leland? Can you do managers? I've never tried it. Can you do managers? He managed both teams. Nope. Lyritz. I don't think he played for either team. Damian Easley. What about him? Debbie Cruz. Preston Wilson. I'm just naming guys at this point. Rick Reed. Jorge De La Rosa. just overs across the board. Maglaradonius, I think I probably said him already. So this is sort of me getting 8 people really well and really scuffling here on this last one. Probably just not gonna get it. Probably just not gonna get it. Um, if I was live streaming, see, people could just pop names at me, but I'm not gonna do that. It's part of the reason I don't want to live stream. Also, no one would actually be watching because I have no following. Let's see. Rick Reed, maybe? When did Rick Reed play? That was enough time to be with multiple teams. I know Renneria never made his way over to Colorado because, like, by that point, Tulowitzki was a thing. Ooh, I could have gone Larry Walker here, but that doesn't help. All right, I'm gonna give myself about 30 more seconds, and then I'm selecting Rick Reed, locking it in, just because I think he's a name that played for at least one of these teams. I think it was Rockies, and I don't actually think it was the Tigers. What about some late stage Tigers that might have found their way into being early stage Rockies? But yeah, then again, it's just like I don't think I mentioned Pudge Rodriguez, but yeah, he was never over there. Um, Daryl Evans certainly wasn't over there. He was too old, way too old to ever play for the Rockies. Atkins? I don't think so. Hop, maybe? Yep, just guessing at this point. Rick Reed, lock it in. Nope. Nope. Fail. All right, so CJ Cron I was never gonna get, so there's that. Yep. Oh, Arenado. Duh. Arenado was gonna draw even more than Holiday and Walker. DJ LeMahieu I predicted correctly. Andrew Jones, I'm surprised he's the number one guy. There's actually been a fair amount of Braves and Yankees have played each other a couple times in the World Series. Ozuna, fairly recent. Who did I go with that? Hornsby. That's right. Gant and Sanders also would have worked there. Miguel Cabrera, I think I predicted that one right. Predicted that one right. Judge is recent, so probably like Judge, then Ruth, then Gehrig, Mantle, somewhere in that order. So going with Jackson was a good pick. So still a decent rarity score, even with the +100 that I get. It would have been sub 20 if I'd come up with anyone at all. But really scuffled with that one. I'm gonna be kicking myself, but this game would not be fun if I always went for the 9 for 9. And I know some people do always go 9 for 9, but this is just the right amount of challenging that it keeps me coming back. But man, sometimes I mess it up, and that was one of those days. Hope that doesn't make anyone lose faith in me, but I'll be back at it. I'll probably play this again on my phone just because I want to see like how some of those other players with 40 home runs stacked up. And maybe I'll just try to think of players who played for the Rockies and Tigers. I don't know if any exist other than CJ Cron. So have a good night, everyone. This was fun once again, even though I failed.